The Purge is one of the movies of all time. It's a mediocre film with a banger of a concept. I'll outline a mini analysis after the rewrite, but for now let's just get into some pre-rewrite shenanigans. First, for those of you unaware, The Purge is set in a universe where for one day a year, all crimes are legal. So for everyone who wants to sell your eyes in Texas, for one day a year you can go buck wild. Twice max, I guess. Second, let me disclose that I've seen the first 3 movies in this series and nothing else. Also, honestly, my memories of the second and third ones are spotty at best. So I may invoke some aspects from those two subconsciously, and I may bring up concepts from the movies I haven't seen coincidentally. Third, usually for these rewrites I maintain the budget and cast. But for this, I'm scrapping that rule and just going bananas. Hopefully that pays off. With all that out of the way,
let's go!
We open in an office. Everyone's gathered for a meeting where the speaker, Brent, addresses the crowd.
And it's because of you that we're seeing record profits and growth. So, as thanks, we're throwing you a year-end pizza party.
The crowd tepidly claps. The meeting ends, and we follow 2 men who drift away from everyone else to talk. The first is our protagonist, Aldo. The second is his best friend, Ken. Aldo complains about the pizza party, saying that he wanted a raise instead, or even a promotion. Ken agrees with both comments, noting that Aldo deserves it, but ultimately shrugging off the bad news and hoping to play video games later. Aldo, however, won't let the pizza party go. He's increasingly frustrated, especially when he's told by a third coworker that Brent is set to receive a holiday bonus from upper management. Ken suggests looking for another job, but Aldo remarks that he has been, to no avail. The two continue to idle, venting as people file past and return to their stations. Then Brent stops by with a smirk.
Hey guys, just make sure you hop back to it as soon as you can. Don't want to get caught working late tonight of all nights.
Aldo gives Brent a death stare, saying nothing, while Ken shakes his head. The two start to head back to their desks, until Ken abruptly stops his friend, his eyes wide, and gasps. And when Aldo asks what's up, Ken responds,
I have an idea.
Cut to our 2 heroes in Ken's car. Aldo seems reluctant, but is warming up to the idea of killing his boss. Ken is excited. Neither of them have purged before and are used to just hunkering down for the yearly occasion. Until now. Aldo isn't interested in killing that much outside of Brent, whereas Ken has wanted to see what all the fuss is for a while, but hasn't ever been able to justify it. And he hasn't ever wanted to do it alone. Which he won't have to now, as the two stop outside an apartment complex. While waiting, Aldo comments that he's worried about bringing along Ken's girlfriend, who he thinks is too timid for the occasion. But Ken is sure his girlfriend will be a team player, even though he's only known her for a few months. He also makes Aldo promise he'll say a cool line when he kills Brent. Ken's girlfriend, Vivian, comes out after Ken texts her, entering the car and joining the squad. She gives Aldo a quiet hello and Ken a chaste kiss, but before the 3 can drive off, Aldo gets a text. It's his aunt. She wants him to pick up his cousin Eddie, who just got out of his college classes for the day. And she wants him to protect Eddie through Purge night, as she's out of town on vacay. Aldo considers getting Eddie a cab or something instead, complaining that his cousin is an annoying rich boy brat who will ruin things. But Ken advocates for the guy, so our trio head to Eddie's location to pick him up, then head off. During the drive, Eddie tries to flirt with Viv, who nervously deflects before Aldo tells his cousin to cut it out. Eddie decides that if they're staying out, he wants to purge, but Aldo tells him that they're not purging anyone other than his boss, and that Eddie isn't doing anything other than staying in the car. Ken declares that if they're gonna purge, they're gonna need weapons, so he's heading to a place where they can get them on the cheap. The group rolls up to Solar Market, where Eddie insists on going in with everyone else, and Ken convinces Viv not to wait in the car.
Welcome to Solar Market. Praise the sun.
The store is virtually empty. The 4 pass the groceries and clothes section and go straight to the weapons. Aldo learns through conversation that the 2 guys on staff are being paid 10 times overtime to close up on Purge night. Ken studies the weapons, asking his girlfriend if he'd look cool with a sword. Viv isn't sure what weapon she can handle, while Eddie plays games on his phone. Aldo is getting recommendations from one of the two guys on staff when suddenly the TV in the corner goes off.
This just in. In order to facilitate our country's most eager participants, this year's annual Purge will commence early. You may begin your Purge now.
Aldo and the worker look at the screen, then look at each other. Then the worker grabs a halberd and attacks. When the other worker grabs a shotgun, our heroes scatter. Viv and Ken take cover while Eddie runs away. Aldo runs from one worker but trips. As he's backing up and the worker is closing in on him, Aldo turns to his side. He spots a convenient brick, grabs it, then chucks it at his opponent. Aldo manages to crawl over to Viv and Ken. He asks where his cousin is, but neither of them know. Ken has a plan though. He's gonna distract their remaining enemy, then Aldo and Viv are gonna bum rush him. Aldo doesn't want his friend to risk himself, and neither does Viv, who is afraid she'll freeze, but Ken is sure they'll all be fine.
3, 2, 1, go!
Ken runs, drawing fire. Aldo and Viv charge. They reach the worker and wrestle with him. He's big enough to fight them both, managing to knock Aldo down. Viv saves Aldo from getting his head blown off. Then Eddie from the top rope with a bear trap. In the aftermath, Eddie brags about how he saved everyone.
You all owe me, especially you, cousin. Don't think I didn't see that pathetic performance.
Aldo's too busy throwing up to respond. The group recover, then gear up. Aldo asks Ken why he chose a sword and sniper rifle of all things, to which Ken explains it's so he can cover short range and long range.
Nice.
Viv remarks that she thought she did pretty well, which Ken eagerly agrees with. Eddie still thinks he did the best. Before the party leaves, Viv heads to the bathroom. Eddie uses his phone to pay his professors to change his grades from D's and C's to A's. Aldo checks his phone and sees Brent posting himself getting driven around by bodyguards. He aspires to hunt down his boss, which Ken agrees to. The group exits the store only to spot someone trying to break into Ken's car. Even after they chase the guy off, Eddie keeps up the pursuit, forcing the others to run after him into an alley, right into a trap. The group takes cover from fire, then returns it. Ken charges in with his sword. Aldo shoots a guy who runs up on them. Viv runs in to support Ken while Aldo and Eddie cover her, then kills two guys just as Ken finishes his fight. Before they can get attacked again, Aldo gets everyone back into the car, then they're on the hunt. While driving, Ken comments on how exhilarating the sword fight was, apart from the killing. Viv is excited about how good she is at fighting and how good it feels to purge, while Aldo is more focused on tracking Brent, and Eddie is posting on social media about how much street cred he's now owed. By studying Brent's videos, Aldo manages to track down his boss, and we spot Brent's car as our heroes tail it. But while they close in on Brent, a gang of crazies closes in on them. Aldo takes the first shot at Brent, and a chase ensues. Aldo is trying to get Brent, but can't get a shot. Eddie is screaming. Ken is driving as best as he can, while Viv returns fire. When Aldo realizes that Brent's windows are bulletproof, he tells Ken to run their boss off the road. Eddie yells that they're all gonna die. The gangsters pull up to our hero's car, while one of them pulls out a flamethrower. Before he can fire, Viv does, detonating the flamethrower and lighting the gangster's car up. Said car rams into our heroes, which runs them off the road. In the aftermath, Aldo stumbles out of the damaged but intact car and steps away from it. Then he sees what's become of his cousin.
Oh my god!
Ken yells.
Is he gonna be okay?
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Viv mentions that Brent got away and that they need to avenge Eddie. Ken isn't so sure anymore, saying that they might be done. But Aldo declares that it's not over until Brent is dead, deciding that the night can't be for nothing. So our heroes pile into their car and go to where they assume Brent is, his home. In the suburbs, Ken scouts Brent's house. Once he sees that there's no activity, the team moves in. They break inside, and almost immediately a fight breaks out. Viv and Aldo blow their ammo. Ken cuts down one bodyguard, but his sword gets stuck, leaving him at the mercy of a second. Viv steps in, draws her own knife, and grins, telling her boyfriend and Aldo to go after Brent and leave the remaining guard to her. So the two friends head up the stairs. Brent immediately shoots, so Aldo and Ken take cover. Ken decides again that he's gonna be the distraction. Aldo tries to volunteer, but Ken refuses.
This is your mission. You're the hero, not me.
3, 2, 1, go!
Ken jumps out, drawing fire. Aldo tackles Brent, causing one gun to fly free. The two struggle over the remaining one, until Aldo finally manages to pull it away and stand up. Brent looks up at him then, finally recognizing Aldo.
Why?
He demands.
Why go to all this trouble?
Aldo looks down upon Brent, ready.
I hate pizza.
The TV announces the end of the Purge. After murking Brent, Aldo turns around, only to find Ken in the corner, dead. He got shot when he ran out to be a distraction and died instantly. Upon realizing this, Aldo just stands still in shock, while Viv waltzes into the room. She commends Aldo on getting his kill and mentions that she got hers. When Aldo points out that her boyfriend is dead, Viv brushes it off, mentioning that he was probably happy to go out like a hero. Aldo is too shocked to really push back. Viv talks about how the night was fun, saying that she hasn't felt this alive since... ever. Aldo doesn't respond.
Anyway,
Viv says.
I'm heading out.
Then she grins, giving Aldo a big hug.
See you next Purge night.
That finally shakes Aldo from his stupor.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
She's leaving, though.
Hey, what do you mean by that?
But she's gone. We close in an office. Everyone's gathered for a meeting where a speaker addresses the crowd.
Sup, let's get straight to it. I'm the new head honcho. Name's Trent. Now I want to maintain as much momentum as we can. So since we lost a few folks last night, I'm gonna need the rest of you to make up for them until we can get replacements.
Aldo is alone. And as he listens, his eyes widen, his face plagued by existential dread.
Work harder, work smarter, work longer hours. For the good of the company.
That was pretty different, huh? The original Purge was a classic case of rich concept, poor execution. You have this fun and wacky premise of crime being legal for a day every year, then ignore it to make a standard house invasion thriller. With the way it was done originally, there's no difference between the Purge and the Strangers, which is weird. The later movies obviously rectified this, but of the ones I saw, none of them were about people who are purging just for the fun of it, or pettiness. So I wanted to explore that. Because honestly, in a world where crime is legal for a day, people's behaviors would radically change, to the point where they might not even be recognizable, even if they don't participate in the worst aspects of the Purge. That's what part of this was, exploring that de-evolution that occurred as our characters went on their mad quest. All in all though, I wanted to make a movie that was more of a dark comedy than a generic thriller. So hopefully that would pan out. If it even got made. I mean, this script sounds way more expensive than the OG budget. But it's also way better. That's all for this one. Like and subscribe, because I've got more rewrites, fixes, and essays in the works. And speaking of, for my next rewrite... Until then though, cheers.